Empezamos de nuevo con la sesión. Está esperándonos Andra. Ahora tenemos a Andra Darlington. Es directora de Gestión de Colecciones Especiales en el Instituto de Investigación Getty, donde supervisa los registros, la catalogación, el procesamiento de archivos y los metadatos digitales, el acceso y la preservación. Posee un máster en Historia del Arte y ha impartido clases en el programa de posgrado de Biblioteconomía y Ciencias de la Información en la Universidad de California de Los Ángeles. Hello, Andra. Good afternoon. Y agradecerla especialmente porque le hemos hecho madrugar y mucho. Son las 7:15 allí en Los Ángeles de la mañana y para nosotros es un gran placer poder contar con ella y que nos explique los proyectos en los que está trabajando. Mil gracias, Sandra, y cuando quieras, encantadas. Okay. Bienvenida.
Gracias, Elena. Y gracias por invitarme a participar en esta reunión y ahora hablo en inglés. ¿Pueden ver? Today, I will give an overview of special collections at the Getty Research Institute with a focus on archives, and I'll present the GRI's approaches to managing the vast archives in our special collections, advancing local and global discovery, and facilitating connections across collections. In addition to traditional library and archival methods, I will also describe experiments with crowdsourcing, computer vision, and linked data to enhance discovery. But first, I will provide background information about the Getty Research Institute, which I'll refer to as the GRI. The GRI is one of 4 programs of the Getty Trust. The Getty Trust's mission is to advance and share the world's visual art and cultural heritage for the benefit of all. Getty is a cultural and philanthropic institution dedicated to the presentation, conservation, and interpretation of the world's artistic legacy. Through the collective and individual work of its 4 programs, Getty pursues its mission in Los Angeles and throughout the world, serving both the general interested public and a wide range of professional communities in order to promote a vital civil society through an understanding of the visual arts. The 4 programs of the Getty Trust are the J. Paul Getty Museum, the Getty Foundation, Getty Conservation Institute, and Research Institute. The museum has 2 locations, one at the Getty Center, which showcases European art and an international collection of photography from its beginnings to the present. The museum at the Getty Villa displays ancient Greek and Roman art in a recreated Roman villa. The Getty Foundation fulfills the philanthropic mission of the Getty Trust with strategic grant initiatives that advance greater understanding and preservation of the visual arts in Los Angeles and throughout the world. In 2019, the foundation awarded a grant to the Universidad Politécnica de Valencia to explore how a striking auditorium designed by architect Fernando Moreno Barbera can be updated to current safety and sustainability standards and reopened with a new function. The Getty Conservation Institute works internationally to advance conservation practice in the visual arts. It serves the conservation community through scientific research, education and training, field projects, and disseminating information. Now, the Getty Research Institute. The mission of the GRI is to further knowledge and advance understanding of the visual arts and their histories. I will provide some additional information about the GRI's activities and resources to provide context before I expand on our special collections and archival discovery. Every year since 1985, the Research Institute has welcomed scholars, artists, and other cultural figures from around the world to work in residence at the Institute on projects that bear upon its annual research theme. While in residence, they pursue their own research projects, make use of Getty collections, and participate in the intellectual life of the Getty Center and Getty Villa. This year's theme is art and migration, and we will have 40 scholars in residence over the course of the academic year. And next year's scholar theme will be art and technology. You can see the poster here. The GRI also has research projects that generate conversations between staff and visiting scholars and disseminate outcomes to an international scholarly audience. Among them are digital art history projects that employ innovative technological methods, practices, tools, and outcomes. For example, a current project is exploring strategies for digitizing architectural models in our archives using 3D imaging and research applications for 3D images with a focus on models in the Frank Gehry archive. Outcomes of GRI research projects include exhibitions, publications, and workshops. The GRI has 2 to 3 exhibitions per year in its 2 gallery spaces. They feature GRI collections, and many of them travel to other museums throughout the country and internationally. Monographic exhibitions draw heavily on the GRI's archival collections. Pictured here are exhibitions about collector Jean Brown, who assembled a renowned collection that bridges Dada, Surrealism, Fluxus, and beyond. The exhibition about choreographer Yvonne Rainer, whose work has been foundational across multiple disciplines and movements, including dance, cinema, feminism, minimalism, conceptual art, and postmodernism. And on the right is an image of the exhibition about influential Swiss curator Harold Seemann, which traveled to 3 European venues in 2018 and 2019. The GRI also regularly loans objects to exhibitions at other venues throughout the world. For more than 25 years, the Getty Research Institute has published books that present new ideas and foster critical inquiry into all forms of visual art, from architecture to performance art. In addition to disseminating innovative scholarship, GRI publications also reproduce and interpret historical documents from archives and special collections, including volumes of previously unpublished letters and writings. The GRI hosts numerous events every year, including lectures, panel discussions, and performances. Some are related to exhibitions or research projects, and others are part of GRI's speaker series. All events are recorded and available on the GRI YouTube channel. Workshops organized by the GRI typically stem from GRI research projects and bring together subject and technical experts from around the world to share different perspectives on a subject. Past workshops have focused on topics as varied as architectural models and pre-Hispanic art provenance. The program for the study of collecting and provenance at the GRI promotes scholarship related to the history of collecting, provenance, art markets, and display around the world. At the heart of the program is the Getty Provenance Index, which currently contains more than 2.3 million records taken from source materials such as archival inventories, auction catalogs, and dealer stock books in archives. The Provenance Index has long been used to support research about the provenance of individual art objects. Now it's being published as linked open data to facilitate research on aggregated data that reveals patterns in the art market, shifting taste and values, and the flow of cultural objects through time and space. Getty vocabularies contain structured terminology related to art and architecture. Compliant with international standards, they provide authoritative information for catalogers, researchers, and data providers. The Art and Architecture Thesaurus, the Thesaurus of Geographic Names, and the Union List of Artist Names have all been converted to linked open data, and the Art and Architecture Thesaurus has been translated into Spanish. The Getty Research Library focuses on the history of art, architecture, and archaeology with relevant materials in the humanities and sciences. The range of the collections begins with prehistory and extends to contemporary art. Presently, the collections are strongest in the history of Western European art and culture in Europe and North America. However, in recent years, they have expanded to include other areas such as Latin America, Eastern Europe, and selected regions of Asia. The general library collections include 1.5 million volumes of books, periodicals, and auction catalogs, and almost 400,000 volumes of periodicals in electronic form. The literature of art history, the methods and materials of artistic production, and conservation are core areas of the holdings. Most books are stored off-site, but we do have browsable stacks for reference materials and recent acquisitions. The library has more than 12,000 active users, and in 2019, the library circulated more than 69,000 books, fulfilled 14,000 interlibrary loans to users at other institutions, and fulfilled 16,000 reference requests and questions for requesters around the world. I gave you 2019 statistics because they dropped during this pandemic, but the numbers are increasing again. The special collections in the GRI library contain rare and unique materials related to art history and visual culture dating from the 15th century to the present. Materials include more than 76,000 rare books and periodicals, including artist books, more than 25,000 prints and drawings, and hundreds of thousands of rare photographs. Archives in special collections. There are more than 6,000 archival collections that range in size from a single folder to more than 4,000 boxes in one of our archives. Altogether, they total about 11,600 linear meters. Included are the archives of artists, photographers, architects, art historians, curators, critics, collectors, dealers, and galleries. Although the archives are mostly paper, they include a wide variety of materials, more than 20,000 video and audio recordings, almost 1,000 film reels, about 550 architectural models, some of which are too large to even fit in the door at the GRI and have to be stored off-site, and more than 40 terabytes of born digital content in the archives. The archives and GRI special collections span centuries and disciplines, but modern and contemporary art is one of the strongest collecting areas, with 4 curators, perhaps because archives often provide the only records of performance and ephemeral artworks and dematerialized art. The GRI acquires a wide range of archives, but one of the requirements is that every new acquisition must be related to existing holdings. While individual archives are crucial to focused art historical research, considered together, They offer broad views of artistic influences and movements, social networks, and the art market. In this way, the archives build on each other and can be seen in dialogue with each other. In some cases, two archives contain two halves of a correspondence between artists. They trace the exchange of ideas and document networks of influence. And sometimes they fill in gaps in documentation. For example, here we have a photograph of a 1978 performance by the Los Angeles feminist art group, The Waitresses, and the actual dress worn during the performance. The dress is in the archive of the group, The Waitresses, and the photograph is from a different archive of a photographer who documented the performance. Both archives are in our holdings. In 2015, the GRI hired a curator of Latin American art, and in 2018, the GRI launched the African American History Initiative, focused on the history, practices, and cultural legacies of artists of African American and African diasporic heritage. Recent acquisitions in these areas include the papers of Venezuelan intellectual and photographer Alfredo Bouton and African-American sculptor Richard Hunt, among many others. The GRI provides access to archives in the Special Collections Reading Room. It accommodates 12 researchers at a time, fewer if they need to consult oversized materials such as prints and architectural drawings. Reservations are required. Researchers must be registered with the GRI, and materials must be requested in advance. In 2019, the GRI welcomed more than 25,000 in-person library visits. Last year's numbers were not as high, again, because of the pandemic. The GRI offers library research grants to help with travel expenses for researchers who wish to consult the collections. Individual grants range from $1,500 to $4,500, depending on the distance traveled. In addition to individual researchers, the GRI also hosts class visits and organizes workshops based on special collections. Most of the classes are from local schools and universities, but we have also hosted international classes, including an annual summer school from Australia. In 2019, the GRI hosted 132 classes and seminars. We recently reopened for class visits after pausing during the pandemic. And classes from universities in Los Angeles have focused on topics such as the history of mail art, the history of photography, and migration and exchange across Latin America. The GRI expands access to global audiences through digitization. In 2013, Getty launched an open content program that makes high-resolution images of public domain objects freely available without restrictions to advance the research, teaching, and practice of art and art history. The GRI is systematically digitizing all public domain books, which can be found in the Getty Research Portal, along with contributions from 46 other libraries and museums, including the Universidad de Málaga. We also have workflows to systematically digitize small acquisitions of photographs, prints, drawings, letters, and other archival documents in the public domain. We have a robust mass digitization program as well for our larger collections. Digital access is provided through a number of discovery platforms, including the GRI's own website, the Getty Research Portal, and aggregators such as the Internet Archive, HathiTrust, and the Digital Public Library of America. However, contemporary archives are generally not in the public domain. In fact, most archives have numerous copyright holders. In artists' archives, the individual artists or their estates typically hold the rights to their own work. Whenever possible, the GRI obtains a non-exclusive license that allows us to digitize and provide public access to the materials created by the primary copyright holder. This may include the artist's notebooks, sketches, and writings, all of which contain crucial information about artistic process. Archives also generally contain letters from a wide network of family, friends, and colleagues that provide insights regarding artists' inspirations and influences, the development and exchange of ideas, as well as the quotidian details of their lives. Archival photographs document artist studios, artworks, and exhibitions. In most cases, all of these creators hold the rights to their work. In large archives, such materials may have dozens or even hundreds of different copyright holders. Although it is not feasible to seek permission from all of the rights holders represented in our contemporary archives, the GRI has had success providing public access to some significant digitized content with third-party rights holders by collecting the archives of individuals within the same artistic network. The work of one person may appear in the archives of several artists, curators, and collectors. If our non-exclusive licenses are broad enough, the GRI can provide public access to digitized materials by that person in any collection. For example, GRI has the archive of photographer Harry Shunk, who documented European and American artists and exhibitions that were central to the artistic developments of the post-war era, including pop art, minimalism, postmodernism, conceptual art, and performance. Because the GRI also has the archives of several artists and curators with whom Shunk worked, we've been able to provide access to Shunk images related to exhibitions organized by Harold Zaman, for example, whose archive is also at the GRI. These boxes were truly in one of our archives. This was the state in which we acquired them. So archival processing involves rehousing materials into archival containers for long-term preservation, performing basic preservation measures, and arranging the materials and describing them in an online finding aid. In general, at the GRI, we retain the original order of archival materials if such an order is discernible, because the creator's organization of materials may reveal important information about their working methods. Context is critical to understanding documents that may only have meaning in relation to adjacent items in the archive. However, there is no need to retain original disorder, and archivists may move misfiled items in the absence of a discernible original order. In those cases, archivists will arrange materials in a way that facilitates their use and management. Either way, it is important for archivists to document any interventions or indicate when the collection is in its original order. In compliance with national standards, the GRI takes a hierarchical approach to describing archives in online finding aids, starting with a general description of the whole, then proceeding to its component parts. Hierarchical description allows archivists to efficiently describe a large volume of materials and represent them within their broader archival context. The collection-level description summarizes the scope and contents of the archive, provides historical context about the creator and key contributors, and identifies the major subjects and material types represented in the collection. The next level in hierarchical description is the series, also referred to as the phone or record group. A series is a group of similar records that are arranged according to a filing system and that are related as the result of being created, received, or used in the same activity. For example, artists' archives often contain correspondence that would be organized. For example, artists' archives often have series for correspondence and project documentation. Gallery and curators' archives typically have series of artist files and exhibition records. At the GRI, the most detailed descriptions in an archival finding aid are usually at the folder level. The description of a folder of correspondence will typically have the name of the correspondent and the date range. It does not list the individual dates or the subjects of each letter. A folder of exhibition records will have the title and date of the exhibition with little additional information. In most cases, folder level description is sufficient for managing and providing access to archives, but it does not support search and discovery of individual items. This brings me to my last topic, enhancing discovery of archival collections through item-level metadata creation. Considering the size of archival collections, which may contain hundreds of thousands of items, it is not feasible for staff to catalog each individual object. Instead, to support item-level search and discovery, the GRI has experimented with enhancing metadata using crowdsourcing and technological solutions. In 2017, the Digital Art History program at the GRI undertook a project called Mutual Muses with the goal of producing transcription data for approximately 2,300 letters in the archives of feminist artist Sylvia Slee and her husband, the critic Lawrence Alloway. Dated from 1948 to 1953, before the couple's marriage, the letters trace the early stages of their respective careers and intertwined personal lives in post-war England. Utilizing Zooniverse, an open source platform that facilitates collaboration between volunteers and researchers working on data collection research projects, the project allowed participants to engage with the collection content and contribute directly to metadata creation. The response among volunteers was enthusiastic, and the transcription work was completed more quickly than anticipated, resulting in multiple transcriptions for each document. Using code designed to efficiently compare the overall similarity of the transcriptions, they were vetted and one version was selected without requiring human analysis. In 2020, during the early days of the COVID pandemic, the GRI launched more crowdwork projects to engage in Getty employees who were working from home. This time, the Zooniverse platform was used not only for transcription of artists' letters, but also for an experiment in crowdsourced classification of photographs. For the classification project, participants were asked to identify people and artworks in Harry Shunk photographs of the opening reception for a 1970 exhibition called Software at the Jewish Museum in New York. By using a controlled list of names and artworks based on the exhibition catalog, the project ensured consistency and minimized the work required to validate the classifications. Also during the pandemic, the GRI experimented with another transcription platform, which allows for crowdsourced review and revision, as well as initial creation of transcription. This was the platform called From the Page, developed by the Smithsonian. By asking volunteers to review each other's work, From the Page reduces the amount of staff time required to vet the transcriptions. We also used computing tools for metadata creation. You may be familiar with Ed Ruscha's 1966 book, Every Building on the Sunset Strip, a photographic collage of 1.5 miles of Sunset Boulevard in Los Angeles. To take the photographs, Ruscha drove down the road in a pickup truck with a motorized camera set to take shots at regular intervals. While the book is well known and often exhibited, Ruscha's larger project to document the streets of Los Angeles is less well known. Ruscha documented the entire 25-mile length of Sunset Boulevard in 12 shoots from 1965 to 2007. The results of this decades-long project are included in the archives of Ed Ruscha at the GRI. The original film rolls were digitized, and the GRI contracted with a vendor to produce image-level geospatial data using advanced computing tools. This data was leveraged in the creation of an award-winning website called 12 Sunsets, which allows users to drive down Sunset Boulevard in 12 different years between 1965 and 2007. Optical character recognition and computer vision were used to generate additional image-level metadata that enables users to search by address, the words on signs, and general subjects, and to compare more than 65,000 photographs of this key urban thoroughfare. The GRI is also planning to use computer vision to create item-level metadata for the Johnson Publishing Company archive, one of the most significant collections documenting African American life and culture from the 1940s to the 21st century. The collection is co-owned by the GRI and the Smithsonian National Museum of African American History and Culture. The two institutions share stewardship responsibilities and are collaborating on a 7-year project to process, conserve, digitize, and provide digital access to more than 4 million photographic images. Once the photographs are digitized, computer vision can be used to identify the photographer's stamps on the versos of the prints, and perhaps to identify subjects and transcribe the handwritten annotations that provide publication information and additional details about subjects and dates. Once we have enhanced metadata, we need discovery and access systems that make it easy to understand and use the data. Online archival finding aids are often displayed in a linear format that resembles their paper predecessors. Users scroll through them as they would page through a printed document. The Getty's new Research Collections viewer offers a visual way to browse and research archival collections. Now online in an initial release, the viewer provides a more dynamic interface that allows users to browse finding aids and associated digital content in one place. In addition to connecting the finding aids with the digitized materials, the Research Collections viewer also makes connections between archival materials themselves by leveraging linked open data standards. Users can navigate relationships between people and organizations represented within and across collections. The viewer was launched with only a few finding aids for testing purposes, and more will be added in the coming months. So I will leave you with that view of our future of enhanced discovery of archival collections. Gracias.